Elvis Aaron Presley was perhaps the greatest musician, entertainer in the world. He had it all. He had the talent, the amazing crooner's voice, the moves, that smile, that sneer, that turned every woman on in an instant. And he knew it. He knew it oh so well. Look at his example at a concert. When he began to sweat, he'd pause, he'd smile, he'd sneer, he'd wipe his forehead with it, and then he'd throw it into the crowd of women and smile and sneer again, and as if he knew, yeah, they're going to tear each other apart just to get that damn towel. He had all that fame, fortune, money, and lived like a king at Graceland. But in a day, he near died broke, overweight, pill and drug dependent. What the hell happened? We bring you this book via this video that we found in the public domain, public access. This video is for educational purposes alone. No copyright breach was intentional. This is the book, the first edition of Elvis, What Happened, by Steve Dunleavy, with the help of the Wests, Red and Sonny West, and Dave Hebler. Published in 1977. Elvis, what happened? Three of his closest companions tell a shocking, bizarre story. Red West, Sonny West, Dave Hebler, as told by Steve Dunleavy. The dark other side of the brightest star in the world. Publisher's note. The original publication date of this book was August 1st, 1977, 15 days prior to the unfortunate and untimely death of Elvis Presley. Elvis, What Happened, is based on reminiscences of three longtime friends and bodyguards of Presley, as told to journalist Steve Dunleavy. This book was to be, in their minds, a desperate effort to communicate to Elvis one last time. He will read and he will get hopping mad at us because he will know that every word is the truth, said Sonny West. But maybe, just maybe, it will do some good. It is too late for Elvis, but perhaps not too late for those who believe that every life contains a painful but instructive truth worthy of recording and understanding. So we decided to go have a look at this author, Steve Dunleavy. Found a little bit of information on him. He was born in Australia. He died 24th of June 2019, aged 81. And his years active were 1953 to 2008. Stephen Francis Patrick Aloysius Dunleavy, 21 January 1938 to 24 June 2019, was an Australian journalist based in the United States, best known as a reporter, columnist and editor for the New York Post from 1977 to 1986, and again from 1995 until his retirement in 2008. He was a lead reporter on the US tabloid television program A Current Affair in the 1980s and 1990s. He was born at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia, and he began his career in the city during 1953 as a copy boy for the Sydney Sun, Australian afternoon tabloid newspaper, first published in Sydney under that name in 1910, where his father worked as a photographer. Later he moved to the Daily Mirror, an evening newspaper also in Sydney, which then was owned by Ezra Norton. He subsequently worked in Hong Kong for the South China Morning Post, SCMP, and freelanced in Japan, India, Greece, Italy, Spain and England. After a period at United Press International in London, he arrived in New York City on New Year's Eve 1966 with either $7 or $10 in his pocket. And he had a career in the United States. He was persuaded by Murdoch to transfer to the new Fox network, also a Murdoch property. Is that Rupert Murdoch? Yeah, Rupert Murdoch. In 1986 and was involved in creating the United States tabloid television format in the 1980s. He became a regular reporter for A Current Affair, produced and aired by Fox television stations and syndicated to non-Fox stations, etc., etc. Stories: Son of Sam, Dunleavy controversially disguised himself in scrubs to gain access to the hospital where Son of Sam victim Stacy Moskowitz, David Richard Berkowitz, also known as the Son of Sam and the .44 caliber killer, was an American serial killer who pled guilty to 8 shootings that began in New York City on July 29, 1976. He grew up in New York City and so forth. He was being treated and conducted an interview with her family. Dumont controversy. Dunleavy wrote a series of articles in defense of Wayne Dumont, a Vietnam veteran who was convicted of assault in Arkansas in 1984. Questioned the justice of Dumont's sentence and conviction. Dumont's sentence was eventually reduced to the point where he was paroled within a year of his release. He went on to do it again and murder 2 women in Missouri. This Willie Horton-like incident resurfaced as a political issue during the 2008 presidential election. Since it was Republican candidate Mike Huckabee who served Dumont's parole while governor of Arkansas, critics alleged that Huckabee became interested in the issue after reading Dunleavy's articles. Beltway sniper controversy. In his column of 17 October 2002 regarding the Beltway sniper attacks, Dunleavy wrote, "If when the shooter is caught, if he is not a foreigner, I will bear my derriere in Macy's window," or his bottom, right? One of the shooters, John Lee Malvo, was born in Jamaica and entered the United States illegally with his mother. Then he wrote some books. In 1977, in association with 3 of Elvis Presley's former bodyguards, Dunleavy published the paperback Elvis What Happened, which investigated Presley's life behind the scenes. It was published on 1st August 1977, just 2 weeks before Presley's death on 16th of August. This was the first book that focused on Presley's addiction to prescription drugs. Following Presley's death in August 1977, the book sold more than 1 million copies. Then he retired. His personal life. He married Yvonne Dunleavy, a fellow Australian and the ghostwriter of The Happy Hooker. A best-selling memoir by Xavier Hollander, a call girl, published in 1971. It sold over 20 million copies. Robin Moore, who took Hollander's dictations of the book's content, came up with the title, while Yvonne Dunleavy ghostwrote it. He died at his home in Long Island, New York on June 24th, 2019 at 81. He lived a hell of a long time. He was survived by a second wife, Gloria, whom he married in 1971, and his sons Peter and Sean. Dunleavy was described in his London Times obituary as Rupert Murdoch's #1 eminence grise. He was one of the greatest reporters of all time, Murdoch himself commented in tribute. His passing is the end of a great era. Depiction. Dunleavy's personality was a model for actor Robert Downey Jr.'s performance as Wayne Gale in Oliver Stone's film Natural Born Killers. Dunleavy was portrayed in the ESPN miniseries The Bronx is Burning by actor Sean Martin Hingston. Several sources speculated that the character Peter Fallow in the novel The Bonfire of the Vanities was based on Dunleavy. However, author Tom Wolfe revealed that the character was mainly based on Anthony Hayden Guest, a British-American writer, reporter, cartoonist, art critic, poet and socialite who lived in New York City and London. Need some references? External links? Now we're going to go have a look at the book. Elvis, What Happened? Here's some comments by reviewers, people who reviewed it, and they're all in praise of Elvis. And they ask, will folks still be interested in Elvis and Graceland 100 years from now? That's a good question. Yeah, because the young people will come across Elvis's music and they go, wow, who was this dude? This book is difficult to find unless you want to pay more than $100. And this person felt grateful to the site for sharing Elvis What Happened with its readers. A book that this person had waited to read for decades, and so glad he did. He's a huge fan of Elvis and still is today. And let's not forget, this book was wrote in anger due to the 3 bodyguards being laid off. And yes, Elvis was by far perfect, but it shows how human he was. That's to say, if I believe every word written, either way a good read, but it shows how human Elvis was. Elvis, what happened? How very sad, he rose so high and fell so far, alone and addicted. What happened? Now we know much about him. This person knows too much about him, and this person's love as a fan has been extinguished. Sad in capital letters. Yeah, we were hard out Elvis fans, and we did a bit of snooping behind his history, with all these books and stuff like that, and found him to be not that charming Elvis that his image portrayed, right? At times he'd fly off the handle, he'd shoot the TV, lose his temper, all that sort of stuff. We all do that. But yeah, sometimes he totally lost it. There's no need for it. And then we found Louis Theroux, the British, he's a journalist, something like that, investigator. He went to interview the infamous Jimmy Savile, and there was a picture of Jimmy Savile and him on the set of Elvis on the set of Roustabout, all dressed up in leathers, and they were laughing up large. And I thought, what the hell is Jimmy Savile doing there? Know the history of that guy, what he was up to? Was he supplying Elvis with younger women? Because he did have a thing for a young woman, but he wasn't. We're not saying he was a paedophile like Jerry Lee Lewis or anyone like that. That was his preference, right? Okay, because he met Priscilla at 14, but apparently didn't touch her till she was legal, something like that, right? Because his father warned him, don't do it, Elvis. Don't go there because it'll ruin your career, like it did to Jerry Lee. And Elvis loved to tour, okay, and that would have killed him, right? So we're going to continue with this book. Las Vegas. It is February and the air is so crisp and clean it almost crackles. The temperature is below freezing in New York. It is raining in Los Angeles, but in Vegas it is party time as usual. On the ground floor of that monument to human indulgence called the Las Vegas Hilton, the salesmen from New Jersey and Ohio are lurching over black jacket tables, whiskey glasses in their hands. Their wives are addictively pushing quarters into the slots of the one-armed bandits. High above the casino, on the 30th floor of this giant hotel in the Imperial Suite, the mood is somber, silent and tense. 2 husky men, their custom-made shoes sunk deep in the plush carpet, grimly survey the toyland and spread 400 feet below them. Like a giant explosion in a paint factory, the lights flashed convulsively, stitching a patchwork of madness that seems fitting in this mecca of insanity. Normally, the one-night standers below them in the casino would have given their eye teeth to be in that lavish suite. There is champagne in the refrigerator, Dom Perignon, chilled to perfection. Exotic foods are on call every minute of the day and night in a town that pays no attention to what time it is when you want to eat, whether breakfast or a 5-course feast. A few casual telephone calls can jam the suite with a who's who of this celebrity register and some of the most beautiful women in the country. But right now, Robert Red West, 37, and Delbert Sonny West, 35, would have done anything to be far from that suite. Anywhere, 100 times before in that same suite, it had been different. They had enjoyed the parties, the celebrities, the pretty women, the booze, the laughs. From time to time, they allowed themselves a rare feeling of smug self-satisfaction. It wasn't a bad life for a pair of hicks from Memphis, Tennessee, whose only ambition when they had left school had been to land a steady job. It hadn't been bad at all going to opening nights, rubbing shoulders with millionaires and movie stars, men who slapped them on the back, bought them drinks, called them by their first names. It is different now, very different. It is 3 a.m, February 19th, 1973, and the party is over. The champagne stays in the refrigerator, Sonny and Red settle for beer. There are no calls to pretty girls or movie stars. As the two lift the cans of beer to their lips, their casual jackets hang open, and the tool of their trade peeks out from the leather holster each wears on the left side of his chest. a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver. They are crack shots. They are bodyguards to one of the most valuable human properties of the 20th century. They stand silent, avoiding each other's eyes. Talk will only make it worse. It has been a bad night. The adrenaline pumps through their temples. Red and Sonny, who know too well the man propped up in a king-size bed in the master bedroom, realise the silence will end very soon, and the night is going to get a lot worse. Minutes, normally irrelevant in a town where the casino's band clocks, tick away painfully. Then the summons comes. The voice bellows from the bedroom. Sonny, Red, you all there? Sonny clanks the beer cane down on a custom-made bar. Yes, boss. Here, Red chimes in. Coming in. They move quickly. In the massive bedroom, which is carpeted in lush green, stands a split-level platform. On the platform is a huge bed covered in dark green corduroy. It is a regal room. Kings, queens, presidents, and prime ministers have slept in this bed. The occupant can survey the domain of the bedroom and the panoramic view of the city below. A man lies in this bed, propped up by 4 puffy pillows. Soft lights from the ceiling bathe the bed in an aura reserved only for supreme beings. The man is dressed in expensive handmade white silk pyjamas. Draped across the chairs are glistening gem-studded jumpsuits. A long-limbed honey blonde sits on the corner of the bed. Her clothes speak of classy boutiques where the patrons ignore price tags. She is very beautiful. But there the elegance ends. The man in bed is disturbed, very disturbed. His eyes are heavy, lidded, and bloodshot. Sweat glistens from the pores of his face and forehead as if he were suffering a cruel attack of malaria. The blonde darts her beautiful eyes nervously, first to Red, then to Sonny. Red avoids her look and stares at the ceiling, only to realise the scene is reflected there in a large mirror. Sluggishly, the man pulls himself up from the pillows. He leans forward and crosses his legs, yoga fashion. When he speaks, the words are thick, merging into one another. Come here, Sonny, the man says softly. Come here, Sonny. Sonny mounts the platform and kneels at the bedside. The Smith & Wesson prods into his left breast as he leans across the bed to be closer to the man. The man extends his hands to Sonny, and Sonny reaches out to hold them. The man's grip is clammy. The nails sink into Sonny's palms. Look into my eyes, Sonny. Look into my eyes. The words tumble out in a quiet, tired monotone. The man has to die, you know. The man has to die. Son of a bitch must go. You know what, Sonny? You know what? There is too much pain in me, and he did it. Do you hear me? I'm right. You know I'm right. Mark Stone has to die. You would do it for me. Kill the son of a bitch, Sonny. I can kill you. I know I can. The beads of perspiration are now rolling down the man's face and into the white silk pyjamas. The voice is striking the edge of hysteria. Tears flash in the eyes of Sonny West, a 6 foot 2 inch ox of a man who has never said no to a fight in his life and never lost one. He has said yes to. Sonny is pleading. No, boss. Let's forget that talk, boss. I know he has caused you pain, but you can't talk like that. It ain't right. It just ain't right. The man is repeating over and over. Mark Stone must die. He must die. You'll do it for me. You must. He has no right to live. There are books on religion and the occult spread on the bed in front of the man. He sweeps back the covers and they fall on the floor. He rolls out of bed and lurches past the chairs where the beautiful clothes of a star are draped. He brushes past them and they fall on the floor. He is a driven man now, muttering to himself. He's got to go. Carelessly, he swings open a giant closet door. Inside, more outfits glisten. The beautiful honey blonde is losing her cool. There is desperation on her face. What's the matter with him? Can't somebody do something? Will somebody tell me what's happened? Calm him down, for God's sake. What's wrong? Oh my God. Oh my God. Sonny looks like a little boy pleading with someone who loves dearly not to jump off a cliff. The man stumbles into the closet, knocking aside the finery inside. He's looking for something. He grabs at a long, bulky object. Sonny West knows what it is, and he can feel his heart hit his stomach. Red West feels the back of his neck crawl. Oh Lordy, he whispers to himself. Oh Lordy. The man staggers back from inside the closet, gripping a grey-green M16 rifle. Sonny springs to his feet and backs towards the door. The man moves toward him and presses the gun into his hand. Sonny looks at it as if he were holding a rattlesnake. Jesus Christ, boss. No, not that. Please don't. The man in pyjamas abandons his assistant monotone. Doesn't anyone understand? Oh God, why can't anyone understand? Why? Why can't you all understand why this man must die? He leaps drunkenly on the bed. He is now jumping up and down. He turns to face the wall. He tries literally to climb the wall, his nails digging into the surface to get a hold. his legs trying to get an impossible grip. He has hurt me so much, you all know that. He has broken up my family. He has taken my wife away from me. He has destroyed everything and hurt me so much, and nobody cares. He's the one who has done it all. Sonny backs away, gripping the M16. There are tears glistening in his eyes. Big Red is choked with emotion. The man continues to try to negotiate the bedroom wall. The honey blonde is pleading, "Baby, don't, honey, don't, please don't." Sonny slowly walks backwards out of the room, holding the M16. Tears stream down his face. The man in pyjamas doesn't know he's gone. Sonny turns and throws the M16 into a wastebasket in the hallway, then walks into the sitting room. Another man has just come into the suite. His name is Lamar Fike, a normally jolly 300-pound Texan who is now looking worried. He collapses into a chair and hefts his cowboy feet onto a table. Lamar Fike is like a member of the family to Red and Sonny. He knows there is a bad scene inside. Sonny answers before the question is asked. "Lamar, it's awful. You know what he wants me to do? He wants me to kill Mike Stone. He was in there trying to hypnotise me. He put that M16 in my hands and told me to go out and waste Mike Stone. Just blow him away." Lamar looks up, his face full of sympathy, and addresses Sonny with this really used Christian name. "Delbert, cousin, it's going to be a long, awful night." Sonny replies solemnly, "No, it's going to last longer than a night. Not just one night. This is going to last for a long time, and I don't know what to do." Elvis Presley was long past curious about Sonny's rare show of disobedience. He was not in this world. As Sonny and Lamar glumly reviewed the seriousness of what they were faced with, Rest and the long-limbed blonde Linda Thompson, a former Miss Tennessee beauty queen, Southern Belle and girlfriend to Presley, tried to calm him in the bedroom. Their attempts were useless. Red remembers there was just Linda, me and E, which we called him, in there alone. I was damned if I knew what to do. I had seen him like this before, but never as bad. Linda was as nervous as a cat. I must confess I was pretty emotional too. It's very difficult to see someone you love flip out like that. Linda was the first to act. She called one of Presley's doctors, Elias Ghanem, a genial, soft-spoken Lebanese who was on 24-hour call whenever Presley was in Las Vegas. Dr. Ghanem told Linda he was on his way. He would give Presley a shot to calm him down. Sonny had the presence of mind to walk out of the bedroom. Red was scared to leave in case Presley did something drastic. There was no telling what he might do in this state, he said. Presley turned to Red and weaved across the room toward him. He repeated the chant, "God damn it, you know he has to die. Red, find somebody to wipe him out. I want that son of a bitch dead. Make some calls, find someone. I could find a hitman in 10 seconds, you know. You can do it. Just do it. This man, Mike Stone, has caused me too much suffering." Those words had frightened everyone in the room, but they lay especially heavy on Red's mind. Red and Sonny are in many ways very much alike. Both are tough southern boys, but in other ways they are different. Sonny and I are closer than most cousins, says Red. We grew up like brothers. His daddy bought my daddy off a farm where he worked. My granddaddy used to whip up on my dad, and Sonny's dad just got him away from there. They were both a pair of wild men, and we sort of grew up in their shadow, so we were very close. Okay, we thought they were brothers, being Sonny and Red West, but obviously they were just had the same last name, apparently, by the looks of it. They were both a pair of wild men, and they sort of grew up in their shadows. So we were very close. But when it came to our reaction to E, there was a difference. Sonny sure as hell loved the man very much, but when it came to me, it was even more than that. Elvis had a kind of hold over me, a hold that I even feel today, even after all that has happened. Elvis could bring out the best of me, and he sure as hell could bring out the worst of me. He could really change my moods. If he gave me a hard time, I would get angry and then take it out on someone else. It was something I find difficult to explain, but it's there. Sonny rejected Presley's pleas to kill Mike Stone with horror, but they lay like a festering sore on Red's mind. Red's love for Elvis Presley was close to being obsessive, and his obedience matched. Red relates, "Man, I got to thinking. E was suffering, and well, maybe it was just this one man who was causing the suffering. It happened like that, and I got to thinking maybe it just ain't right that any one human being should be responsible for another human being's suffering. I guess what I'm saying is this. When he told me to get a hold of someone to wipe out Mike Stone, I got to tell the truth. I was listening, and like a damn fool, I was listening hard. That night, Red watched Dr. gun him give Presley a sedative to calm him down. As Presley slipped away into sleep, Reed drew a deep sigh of relief. Maybe, he thought, the talk of killing is over. Maybe tomorrow, when he's calmed down, he'll forget all about it. Reed had seen Presley get these attacks before. Often the next day not a word would be said and everything of the previous night would be forgotten. But Elvis Presley did not forget. The next day when he saw Reed, he was calm, but he wanted to know what Reed had done about his order. Reed, you made that call yet? You working on that thing I asked you about last night? I want it done. Reed shuddered. I'm working on it, boss. I've made some calls. It's going to take a little time. I'm working on it. Reed was confused, torn between a blind loyalty to Elvis Presley and the gravity of the request. Red West had surely punched a lot of men out, but getting a hitman, that was his thing, because Mike Stone was a black belt in karate and an instructor, right? Red turned to his close friend, actor Robert Conrad. He was the only guy I could open up to, says Red. Conrad, the handsome nuggety star of Hawaiian Eye, Wild Wild West and Bar Black Sheep, is a Hollywood veteran who has been around the track and doesn't shock easy. Red recalls, I was scared, but I didn't want to let Elvis down. And I didn't want to go around hiring anyone for a hit either. Listening to myself now, I must sound like a crazy man. It was crazy to even talk to Elvis about it, but I did, and, well, I'm telling you the truth. Conrad spoke to Red with the calm expected of him. Look, man, don't get into it. Don't go near it. Stay well away. I've seen guys act like that before. Just flip out. I've seen it as a reaction to pills or shots. Just go along with what they say and just keep putting them off until they calm down and realise what they are asking. He will come to his senses and will forget all about it. We hope. Red listened quietly to Conrad and came to his senses. Yeah, you're right, Bob. Thanks a lot, and let's forget all about it. But Elvis still had not forgotten about it. He had become obsessed with this man, Mike Stone. Presley would say to Red, hey, are you working on that thing? You made any calls? Red would always stall for time and put him off. Yeah, I'm making some calls. Sure I am. Red was lying, of course. He hadn't made any calls about the hit yet. Now, at that time, Elvis was playing the Hilton Red. Continues. And I guess there was about 6 or maybe 7 days left of the show there. About every second day, Elvis would come on me again. He would ask, what am I doing about the hit? I would just keep putting him off. Now, what I did, I'm not going to make a whole lot of excuses, apart from the fact that I loved the guy and just couldn't stand seeing him hurt so bad. And let me tell you, he was hurting. So Red made some calls, this time for real. In Las Vegas, you can get a telephone number for a strong-armed man fairly easily. The town was founded on that sort of thing. A mob hit can be organised from there or for $5,000, although no hits are to take place in Vegas itself. That's mafia policy. Red relates, look man, believe me, anyone, a Baptist minister, can get a telephone number for this sort of thing, that sort of thing, anywhere, anytime. Well, like a big dumbass, he got a telephone number for a hit. The price he was quoted was $10,000. Now, I didn't give anyone's name to anyone. I just called this guy and asked how much it was going to cost to be looked after. Then I told him I would call him back. On the last night of the show, Red went to Elvis with the information. I guess it must have been around February 25 or 26. I went to him just before he was going on stage. I said to him, well, I made that call. I didn't do anything about it. But do you want me to call the guy back? Red was going to make the call from a paid telephone. He wanted Elvis to know that he hadn't yet let him down, but he also wanted to face Presley with just what he was doing. It was about 20 minutes before Presley was to go on stage. He pondered Red's question for several seconds and said, oh, hell, just let's leave it for now. Maybe it's a bit heavy. Let's just leave it off for now. Red, to this day, can remember the feeling of sheer relief. That night, he was so happy he went out and got drunk. Now, the point was, when Elvis asked me to do this thing, I wanted E to realise that what he was saying. That's why I strung him along. At the same time, we went as far as making a telephone call, which was just plain dumbass crazy, but Elvis had that thing with me. But there was something here. I know some crazy asses crazier than me, who as soon as E had asked for Mike Stone to get hit, they would have gone right out and got themselves a hitman, and before anyone realised what was going on, Mike Stone would have been dead. Now there were guys like that around him from time to time, real strung out, nutty people. What would Red have done if Presley had said, make the call? Is a question Red doesn't like to ask himself. Dave Hebler was 35 at the time. He was a 5th degree black belt karate champion. He had not yet started to work for Elvis. That trip was yet to come. But he was one of the many of the karate fraternity that always had a place among Presley's circle of friends. He was driving Presley in a Mercedes up to his mansion on Montevideo Road in Beverly Hills. They were talking. Hibbler had just split with his wife. He recalls Elvis had just come back from the Vegas trip, so I guess it must have been about March of 1973. I had heard a lot of talk among the boys about the night Elvis had asked to have Mike Stone hit. Elvis and I had built up a rapport. We both shared the experience of having split with our wives. We sort of talked about it on a common ground. The problem you go through, the way you miss the kids, all that sort of stuff. But I got the distinct impression that the conversation was leading up to something about Mike Stone. Dave Hibbler is one of the most dedicated karate talents in the country. He was at that time. From his involvement in the art, Dave knew Mike Stone very well. Stone, for his 180 pounds, is one of the most furious karate experts at the time in the United States. He was a quite good-looking young man from Hawaii. Of 90 top-class karate matches, he had not lost a single fight. He looked after his body at all times and was well liked in the Los Angeles karate circle. He made a modest living as an instructor, which suited his modest habits. Elvis knew that Mike Stone and David Hibbler knew each other well. Dave recalls, that talk about hitting Mike Stone was pretty disturbing. I did not know Elvis then like I do now, and I was sort of disappointed that he could think in those terms. First up, knowing Red and Sonny, I knew they had quite a bit of respect for Mike Stone. They didn't want to get mixed up in that rubbish. From what they knew of Stone, they liked the guy. Secondly, let's face it, that kind of talk is pretty heavy stuff, even for guys like us who have been around a bit. Just because things don't fall your way, you don't go asking about hiring a hitman, for God's sake. And thirdly, the whole thing could have got very nasty. Mike Stone is a pretty quiet guy, but believe me, if he had heard a word about this shit going around, he would have turned into a very bad dude. He is the kind of guy who would say, man, if you're looking for me, well, here I am. And if that happened, there was no question in my mind that Mike Stone could have ripped Elvis apart. Of course, Dave Hibbler had known the problem. He knew that Mike Stone was the man who took Priscilla Presley from Elvis Presley. She had been a caged canary for too long. She had longed for a normal life around normal people doing normal things. She had found it in a darkly handsome karate instructor. Dave knew the situation very well. In fact, a few days before Elvis tried to draw him into this conversation about Mike Stone, Dave had been talking to Mike Stone and Priscilla at Orange Coast College in Westminster, Orange County, at a karate tournament. Priscilla, the beautiful little army brat who for more than a decade had one of the world's most glamorous fortunes at her fingertips, was dressed simply in a pair of jeans and a blouse. She was giggling and laughing like a cheerleader at her first football game. She was standing at the door of the tournament, stamping the hands of paying customers who came in. She was very sweet, and so was Mike. Very, very natural, Dave recalls. So this was Priscilla Presley, and here she is stamping hands at her boyfriend's tournament. She was just helping out her struggling karate instructor boyfriend, who I guess in those days, in a good week, would have been making $250. Maybe that was what bugged Elvis so much. If she had run off with someone like Frank Sinatra, maybe. Somehow that would have erased the hurt ego. I don't know, but a $250 a week karate instructor, that must have hurt. Red West believes that Dave is only partly right. There is no doubt that his ego was very badly hurt. It happened right before our eyes. We knew it was going on when he didn't even know. No, I don't blame her for leaving Elvis. She had a life that no normal woman could put up with. But I do know he loved that woman. Even today, he would never have a word said against her. He always told me, I will always have a love for Priscilla. In fact, deep down, I believe that Priscilla was only one of two people he ever really did love in his whole life. He didn't love her, love us. Well, we thought he did, but he did love that woman, Priscilla. And it continues. They must have met each other at this Hume's High School when they were younger. Despite the fact that Presley was a year senior to Red, in fact in his graduation year he broke with teenage protocol and addressed Red first. He muttered a shy, "Hi, Red." West's eyes missed a little these days when he recalls that moment. Even just looking at him, I knew something was wrong, something was bugging him. Red stopped his charge toward football practice and simply said, "Hi, Elvis, what's the matter? Something wrong?" Young Presley shuffled uncomfortably and said, "There's these three guys outside who are going to beat me up." Red was never slow to lift his dukes to anyone, but he was particularly prone to go into action against bullies. Without looking to see how many were waiting, Outside, Reed nodded his head and said quietly, "Just go check on it. Just go check on it and see what it's about." So he goes out there and he says, Reed says, he looked at the biggest boy there. "I understand you three fat asses are going to whip this little guy's ass." The big guy started out an explanation. "Hey man, it ain't your business. We were just going to talk to him, that's all." Reed nodded. "Well, that's just fine. I tell you what, you and I will talk here for a while he just walks home in peace." Elvis turned quickly on his heels and sprinted home. The confrontation seemed to have ended. The next day, Elvis sidled up to Reed after class and said gratefully, "Gee, Reed, thanks a lot for yesterday, man." Reed smiled just as shy. "Forget it, man." And Reed had perfect records in those days. There's always somebody picking on him, picking on Elvis. He was a very good kid, a lot nicer than some of the others around. But if Presley's mouth wasn't arrogant, his appearance was. He would spend hours in the school washroom combing his ducktail to perfection. When he wasn't wearing a leather jacket and jeans, it was some outrageously coloured pair of pig pants. In the sea of 1,600 pink-scalped kids at school, Elvis stood out like a camel in the Arctic. Intentionally or not, his appearance expressed a defiance that his demeanour did not match. Reed relates, "It was that hair, man. It got him into all kinds of trouble. If he had a regular haircut like all the rest of us, he probably wouldn't have been bothered. But I guess the other kids thought he was trying to show off or something. But hair has always been his crowning glory. I've never known any other human to take more time over his hair. He would spend hours on it, smoothing, mussing it up, and combing it again." Elvis tried out for the football team, but without much success. With a bit more weight and a lot more confidence, he just might have made a good guard, but things didn't seem to work out. "I think," says Reed, "that Elvis lasted on the squad about 3 weeks. The coach, a good old guy called Coach Boyce, just couldn't stand Elvis and his long hair. Coach Boyce could be a real tough son of a gun, and he was always onto Elvis to cut his hair. He just shamed E so much he finally left the squad. I really felt sorry for him. He seemed very lonely. He had no real friends. He just didn't seem to be able to fit in. But I got to admire him. All that razzing that the kids and some of the teachers gave him about his hair, Elvis would never cut it. That was his trademark. He went his own way without fighting back. But he wouldn't give in. He would have rather died than cut that hair." In fact, the way Reed remembers, there was a time when Elvis thought his hair was going to be cut, and he had a good look on his face. He had a look on his face that gave the impression he was going to die. It happened not too long after Reed's first rescue operation of Elvis in those days. When children were forbidden to smoke on the school grounds, the school washroom was a smoking gallery. It was there that all the swingers congregated to sneak their clandestine puffs away from teachers' watchful eyes. Reed walked in to take a leak. "This place was full of smoke. You could hardly see in front of you for all that smoke," Reed recounts. "But I could see far enough to notice that old E was in a whole heap of trouble again. About 4 or 5 guys had him in there and were holding him and pushing him up against the wall, and then grabbing and pushing him from behind. They were yelling and laughing and wising off at him and his hair. They decided they were going to cut his hair. Now, a smart guy usually keeps his nose out of other people's business. I knew the guys who were hassling Elvis. They were on the football squad. I suppose they got this haircutting business from old Coach Boyce. The guys who were giving Elvis a hard time were not really bad guys, just a bit noisy and stuff. But when I saw Elvis's face, it just triggered something inside of me. I mean, we were just kids and they weren't going to kill him or anything, but there was that look of real fear on his face. He was looking like a frightened little animal, and I just couldn't stand seeing it. When you're very poor, you tend to let everyone look after their own troubles. But that face of Elvis's, I can see it to this day. And I saw that face like that many times later, and it always had the same effect on me. Just tuned something up inside of me. It was a child's face, and it asked for help. Reed zipped up and strolled over to the wall where the mob had Elvis pinned. Now look, said Reed to the mob. This ain't gonna do anyone any good. There ain't no need for this. If he likes his hair that way, well, no sense in hassling him. Now, if you cut his hair, you're going to have to cut my hair too. And that's going to develop into something else. Once again, that lazy, quiet drawl had a dramatic effect. The mob let Elvis go. Before Elvis left, he darted a look at Reed, then said thanks a million times over. Dave Hebler, who got to know Reed as well as anyone, sums up Reed this way. You know, if a guy hassles me, I walk away. If he follows me and persists, then okay, I'll hit him. Now with Sonny, if someone hassles him, he will try to talk the guy out of it. And if that doesn't work, then I'll hit him. But with Reed, if someone hassles him, he gives you the 2-minute warning. If you don't get the message pretty quick, boom, it's all over. In later days, the three of them together were like the Three Musketeers. Elvis saw Red the next day and gave him a shy thank you. It couldn't have been easy for Elvis, a year older than Red and a year ahead of him at school, to have to thank him twice for getting him out of the trouble. In later years, says Red, he remembered 2 incidents, although he never mentioned them. Elvis never forgot a damn thing. He has a memory like an elephant. Somehow, you know, that year 1952 put me in a role as Elvis's protector. It wasn't a role I looked for. It just happened that way. It was a role that Red assumed for the next 24 years in one way or another. Elvis had a way with me. Sometimes he was like a damn spoiled kid who needed to be spanked, and other times he was just so helpless and needing of help. It was like he was your own child. It's a job I took on readily and had a lot of fun doing and a lot of heartbreak. And even now, I still feel it's my job, even if I never see him again. Delbert Sonny West ran his hands through his bristly US Air Force regulation haircut and looked at the spectacle before him with amazement. Only half an hour earlier, he had walked through the main gates of the rodeo grounds in Tucson, Arizona. With him was a quiet, corn-fed southern western girl whose demeanour and look suggested that when someone invented virginity and apple pie, they must have had her in mind. The dainty face and Sunday best dress she was wearing told him immediately to resist cursing in her presence and scrap any thoughts of ever scoring. Yet only a half hour later, she was begging totally out of character like a sex-starved little nymphette. Perhaps she was wrong after all, and the night would not go unrewarded. The reason for her transformation was up there on the stage. Elvis Aaron Presley, the kid from Humes High School, where Sonny West had also gone 4 years behind Elvis. Elvis Presley, his hair shining like sprayed patent leather, was straddling the microphone in the most suggestive of manners, his groin gyrating inches from the upright stand, and his shaking and convulsive movements as if possessed by an alien spirit. When he sang quietly, he sobbed. When he sang loudly, he commanded his worshippers. The woman seemed to be beset by alternating emotions, from motherly pity to slave-like obedience. His lips, curling down on the right side of his mouth, arrogantly pouted suggestion and triumph. Then his mouth would twist in pain, and 1,000 females screamed in pity and wanted to enclose the poor child in their arms. "Since my baby left me," the words of Heartbreak Hotel, already a stupendous song, had the woman crying out in pain for his loss. My God, thought Sonny West, and this is pimply-faced Elvis Presley, who only 4 years ago had to look to my cousin Red to get him out of jams. It was hard for me to believe, he recalls. Sonny was having considerable trouble keeping Miss Apple Pie in his seat. Sonny was in the Air Force and had gone along to the rodeo ground, which is not far from his base, to see what all the fuss was about this kid he'd gone to school with. Believe me, this gal changed right before my eyes. I had heard all the publicity and I knew Red was very close to Elvis, but it didn't really seem to make any impression on me. He was just a country and western singer who had got onto the rock and roll bit. But this gal, I'm telling you, if someone had grabbed that lady there and then dragged her off to bed, it would have happened there and then. Every time he moved, it seemed like a couple of hundred gals were getting it off. Then, after the show, my gal just went back to what she was like before. It was as if all that carrying on was for Elvis and nobody else. Sonny never did score with the lady, but the incident gave him a preview of the awesome control Elvis had over a female audience, a power that Sonny was to see underlined 1,000 times in the years to come. Sonny never knew Elvis at school, just saw him in the hallway now and then, he recalls. So he's 4 years behind him. Yeah. Now Elvis Presley was indeed somebody who Sonny now realised had something hidden far inside him when he was at Humes High School. Now it was all coming out. Sonny wanted to go backstage that night and try to see Elvis, but he's too shy. Anyway, he probably wouldn't have been able to get near him. The year was 1956, and Heartbreak Hotel was setting sales records all over the country. Churchmen were preaching about the evil of Elvis Presley. Even the communist press of Eastern Europe saw Elvis Presley as the main reason why American youth was so degenerate. In fact, they said Elvis Presley was just about the best reason communist youth should stay communist. In popular appeal, Elvis Presley was surpassing even Rudolph Valentino. There was Frank Sinatra too, of course, but Elvis was someone American youth had called its very own. 2 more years of worldwide hysteria over Elvis would pass before Sonny West met him. I knew my cousin, his cousin, Red, was very close to Elvis. Just had her cousins, him and Sonny. They had become like brothers, but when they were teaming up, he was off somewhere else. Then he joined the Air Force, etc., etc. Sonny met Elvis on a spring night in 1958, etc. meets Elvis, and they talk for a while, and Elvis is pretty good to him, genuinely interested in him. He was, despite who he was, a very ordinary kind of guy. He was as good looking as hell, but he seemed to take all the girls falling all over him as a bit of a joke. It hadn't gone to his head. You just couldn't meet a nicer guy. In years to come, whenever Red remembered that first impression of Sonny's, he would get a lump in his throat, because Elvis did indeed change, even if it wasn't his fault. He changed. Elvis turned to get on the ice rink. He extended a warm handshake, gave that curled lip smile of his, and started to laugh at it as he eyed Sonny and Bill Thorpe. He left them with the comment, "New meat, huh?" Sonny had no problem with Elvis, but Lordy, there was this gal, I'll never forget it. She flat ass killed me, say Sonny. I would be skating along there, wham! This girl would knock me flat. Elvis would see this and burst out laughing. I would get up and wham! Down I would go again. When I first got in there and saw a woman on the other side, I was ready to go easy on her, but I grew to where I wanted to kill her. After about half an hour, she had near broken me in half. One time she sent me skidding into the railing, and I split my cheek. Elvis always had a first aid man there, so he patched me up and I went on the floor again. In the end, I saw her coming toward me and I set myself to send her flying. Well, man, that was a mistake. When she hit me, she knocked me flatter than an attack. Me, 6'2" me, and a gal knocks me flat on my ass. This time she hit me so hard that I hit my head on the floor, and that was it. I was out cold. When I regained consciousness, there was Elvis standing over me, laughing. That boyish laugh. He looked down and said, "New meat, huh?" The old son of a bitch knew all along what she could do, but it was great fun, and Elvis was fun to be with. Sonny and Red recalled that Elvis played hard and tough on those nights, and he revelled in the rough and tumble. At last, Aaron Presley was one of the boys. Well, not quite. Corrects Red. We made sure that he never really got hurt. We were always looking after him. Nobody picked on Elvis. Most of us were very close friends. Occasionally, an outsider would come in and try to show off in front of his girlfriends, try to take Elvis out. About a week after Sonny came to the rink, there was just one guy who was making a real ass of himself. A real clown, right? Just going for Elvis and nobody else. Well, we took care of him real good. After the first night, Sonny and I were always on Elvis's team. Well, this one guy, Sonny and I taught him a lesson. We high-loaded him and sent him about 15 feet through the air. Lucky he didn't hit the railing or we would have killed him. Elvis liked that kind of loyalty. Elvis was only a few weeks away from going into the army. There was only one little note of discord. Elvis took Red a week before leaving for Germany. Or told Red a week before leaving for Germany. He's a heck of a nice guy, your cousin Sonny, but he never stopped saying son of a bitch. He calls everyone son of a bitch. I just wish he would stop saying it all the time. And then as Elvis said, in regards to Mike Stone, that son of a bitch got to die. Somebody's got to get rid of that son of a bitch. Elvis thinks you're a great guy, Red told Sonny, but he figures you cuss too much. Always cussing, saying, "Goddamn, calling you a son of a bitch." They both laughed, but as Sonny became closer, much closer, he realised that for Elvis the word son of a bitch held a particularly deep insult. If Priscilla Presley was, as Red points out, one of the two people whom Presley ever loved, then the other was his mother, Gladys Presley. Sonny relates, it was as if the word was an immediate insult to his mother. And man, that was treading on dangerous ground with Elvis. It was in 1963 that Sonny saw the word trigger, an uncontrollable flash of temper. By then, Presley was making an estimated $3 million a year, and his spending habits had reached exotic proportions. His film commitment meant he was spending more time in Hollywood, along with a mind-boggling fleet of cars. Presley rented and later bought some of the best and most stylish houses that Tinseltown had to offer. One in particular that he rented was in Bel Air, on Bellagio Road. It was the kind of house that poor Memphis kids dreamed about when they flickered ravenously through movie magazines. Yeah, because they lived in like these horrible looking shed-like houses, right? Run down things. They were filming, final filming for Fun at Acapulco was over, everybody was winding down. They were at the International House of Pancakes down on the strip, and he picked up one of these two pretty girls. One of the girls later became quite a well-known actress, and the other one, let's call it Judy, which is not a real name, was a sweet little thing. I think she is probably married now, so I don't want to embarrass her by identifying her. Anyway, I took him up to the house, and there's a whole thing going on up there, depending on what sort of mood he is in. Elvis, on one of these nights, just sort of might just say hello to everybody and go straight to bed. Other nights he wouldn't even come down at all. But if he was looking around for a little action, he would sweet talk some girl for a while and then take her upstairs for some action. On this night, Elvis didn't seem to be doing any of those things. He was pretty tired and seemed a bit agitated. I walked in and gave him a big hug. He wanted me to play pool with him. Now, I had these two ladies with me, but when Elvis wants you to do something, you do it. So I left these two little girls to all the other vultures up there and started to play pool with Elvis. After a while, we started playing four-handed pool with two other guys at the party. Elvis's mood was not being helped by the fact that he was muffling about every second shot. Or he's muffing about every second shot. He's screwing it up, right? As in all these cases, I got a bit tense knowing that Elvis can flash in these situations. What made me more worried was the fact that there was a lot of people there, a lot of chicks, and I was scared he would do something in front of them all. Sonny's intuition was shockingly accurate. By this time, little Judy had gotten a bit bored with the party. The man she had come in with, Sonny, seemed too busy playing pool to take any notice of her. She decided to leave. Anyway, Elvis is just about to hit a shot, and little old Judy comes down the steps into the game room. She called it to him. I think you better be leaving now, Sonny. Could you move your car, please? It's blocking mine and I can't get up. Sonny replied, Yep, hun, just a minute. Elvis slowly rose from the table where he was about to hit a shot. Sonny, what in the hell does she want? Sonny shrugged. Nothing, boss. She just wants me to move my car so she can get up. That didn't satisfy Elvis. Whoa there. Hell, man, you're playing pool. Let her get someone else to move that damn car. Judy flushed with embarrassment. She had never met Elvis, although she admired him. And now here he was telling her to go to blazes. Judy replied, Look, I'm sorry. I just don't know anyone else here. That's why I asked Sonny. And Sonny, if you just move it, I'll leave. I'm sorry to bother you. Judy looked like she wanted to jump into a hole somewhere. Elvis Presley's eyes narrowed. He pulled himself upright and his lips curled back. Sonny knew the signs.